When I Fall by Scarlet Emerald 32. Chapter 2.
Hello, Talisa. Come on in.
Deanna stepped back to allow Talisa to enter her home and then headed for her office, with Talisa close behind. She took her traditional spot in the armchair across from Deanna's.
You want some iced tea?
Always.
Deanna gave her a smile as she walked over to pick up the pitcher.
I saw you already gave Rick and Michonne the security jackets.
Yes, I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to talk about it beforehand, but it just seemed like the right path forward. So I made a unilateral decision. I hope you don't mind.
You're the boss. I appreciate that you value my opinion, but I would never be arrogant enough to expect you to run every decision by me.
Deanna handed her the glass and took a seat across from her.
Be that as it may, as you said, I do value your opinion, so what are your thoughts?
On Rick and Michonne? Honestly, it feels like a pretty good fit. A security force, for lack of a better term, and we definitely need a better term in the long run, is something that we've been sorely lacking. Rick has former training, so it should be an easy transition, and Michonne seems to follow his lead, so that fits too. But Deanna, you realize if you let them take this on, you're going to have to be willing to do things their way, and some of those things are probably going to be outside your comfort zone.
Deanna shot her a knowing look as she took another sip of her iced tea.
We've already been discussing it. They wanted to carry weapons inside the walls, which I'm still firmly against.
Talisa bit her lips slightly, trying to keep her expression neutral. The issue of security inside the walls had been one of the few sticking points the two women had, and from the look on Deanna's face as she caught her eye, it was obvious she wasn't the only one skirting around the topic.
But we compromised, and I've agreed to have armed security on the wall at all times and shifts. We're also going to keep a lookout in the clock tower.
They weren't impressed with Spencer's putting a rifle in the window to scare raiders away strategy.
Deanna's son Spencer had a knack for grand ideas, but his execution wasn't very foolproof. The corner of Deanna's mouth twitched, but she ignored the jibe, picking up a folder that was sitting on the side table and opening it.
What can you tell me about Sasha Williams?
Not much. She keeps to herself mostly. I don't even see her interacting much with her own people. There's definitely some trauma there and detachment, but I haven't seen any behaviors so far that would be major causes for concern.
She volunteered herself as a lookout for the guard tower, said she wanted as many shifts as I could give her. Rick vouched for her, said she's one of his best sharpshooters.
Did you give her the job?
Yes and no. I told her she could take a lookout shift, but only if she promised to come to the welcome party tonight.
I like that. Gives her something she wants, while also testing how she does with the constraints and expectations of living in an organized society again. Very smart.
Well, I try.
Deanna turned to another page.
Carol Peltier. I put her in the kitchen with Olivia. She seems pretty straightforward. Not sure how someone as sweet and gentle as her made it as far as she has in this world, but I don't see any major red flags.
Yeah, I'll agree she doesn't seem like a threat.
Deanna looked up from the file, obviously sensing the hesitancy in her answer.
You think I'm reading her wrong?
I'm not sure. I think I'm still just trying to puzzle her out. I meant what I said about her not being a threat to us, but I kind of feel like there's more there than meets the eye.
Well, you're the expert on reading people, so let me know if you get any clarity on it.
I always do.
Now we come to one of our newcomers that I have a particular interest in, Maggie Rhee.
Oh yeah? How so?
Talisa took another sip of her iced tea.
Well, after talking with her, I feel like she may be an integral part of what we're trying to build here. She's intelligent, measured, and seems to be able to still see the bigger picture, even through everything we've endured. I see a lot of myself in her, if I'm being honest.
That's high praise. I haven't gotten much of a chance to talk with her or her husband, but what I will say, though I'm sure you're aware, is that she's got a lot of trauma she's going to have to work through, so you'll need to have some patience as far as she's concerned.
Which of us doesn't have trauma to work through? And besides, it wouldn't be my first time helping someone work through their baggage to become a valued member of my inner circle.
She winked at Talisa, who smiled back.
Any thoughts on the others?
Too early to tell, really. Carl seems to be acclimating fairly well. I saw him palling around with the other kids in that abandoned house they think no one knows they hang out in.
Speaking of the other kids, how's Enid? Did you get her on that medication?
Yeah, 2 days ago, though Pete's refusing to give me more than a week's supply at a time.
A fleeting look that Talisa understood fully crossed Deanna's face when she brought up Pete's name, but she said nothing.
She says it's been helping her sleep, and honestly, the arrival of Carl seems to have potential to help her connect a little more. Another kid from the outside, you know?
She's still seeing Ron?
For now. Not sure it's going to be a long-term thing, but I think it's keeping her grounded for the time being.
And we're sure it's a good idea for the person that's keeping her grounded to be...
Well on his way to being just as much of an obnoxious prick as his father?
Talisa finished for her, and Deanna gave a small smile of agreement.
Honestly, I think going through her bad boy, asshole phase might be the most normal teenage thing Enid is doing at the moment.
Deanna laughed.
You may be right about that. But back to the topic at hand, our newcomers.
Right. Well, I think if Rick and Michonne set up patrols on the walls, a lot of them are going to volunteer and fall easily into that role. Sasha, as we already discussed, but also Abraham and probably Rosita because they seem to do everything together. I wouldn't be surprised if Tara joined the security detail as well. Daryl might, but I don't know. He's tricky. I get the sense he didn't take well to normal civilian life even before this all started.
Aaron actually posed the idea of Daryl joining him on scouting missions. You know how much he hates Eric going out there with him, and Eric hates when he goes alone. He seemed to think it would be a good way to get Daryl connected without keeping him caged up.
I think that's a brilliant idea. And if there's anyone who could potentially get through to him, it's probably those two. Though I wish to God it wasn't the case, I know they can identify with the feeling of not exactly fitting in.
It's sad how society can completely implode, but somehow some people manage to bring their old antiquated prejudices along to the new world, isn't it?
It really is.
Talisa sighed and put her now empty glass down on the table beside her.
On the topic of heading outside the walls, I think, if he's willing, you should make Maggie's husband, Glenn, a runner. Several of them have told me that he was their best scavenger before, and we're in desperate need of some people who are brave enough to do the job and actually have enough common sense to do it well.
That is an excellent point. I'll make a note to set up a meeting between him and Nicholas. Reg has also begun to take the young man, Noah, under his wing. He says he has a great mind for architecture and engineering, and he thinks he's thinking of making him his first protege.
Sounds perfect.
So that just leaves Gabriel, the priest. I think we'll put a hold on him for now, see how things play out. He feels a bit unstable.
Deanna flipped the page in her file.
And Eugene Porter. Any thoughts there?
Deanna gave Talisa a pointed look, and she immediately felt her cheeks warm slightly. She glared back, unamused.
Do not. Give me that look, Deanna.
What look?
She asked innocently, setting down the file and crossing her arms.
You know exactly what look. Just because a man shows up that has the same sorts of hobbies and interests as me, doesn't mean I'm immediately going to be interested in him.
I honestly wasn't implying anything of the sort. I just imagine it must be nice for you to have someone around who reminds you.
Of JP?
Not just of him, though I'm sure that's nice too in a somewhat bittersweet way. From what you told me, you had a whole community of like-minded people that you lost. Getting to know someone like Eugene must feel like having a piece of that back, in a way.
Yeah, I guess it does. He is a nice guy. After everything that's happened over the last few years, I guess I figured guys like him had gone the way of the dodo bird, you know? Nice guys like that aren't built for this world. I never thought I'd meet one again.
Yet here he is. Do you have any thoughts on where he could be most useful?
I mean in several areas, really. He's very smart. And the kind of guy who knows relevant information on a variety of topics. Once we get our governing system figured out, I could definitely see him having a seat on the board. I know for a fact he'd be an asset in our food production committee, and he'd probably also be an asset to Reggie's architecture and fortification team.
So what you're saying is, the man is a treasure trove of knowledge that we need to use to our best advantage.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
They both looked up as they heard the office door creak open. Deanna's husband Reg stuck his head in and gave them both a slightly apologetic smile.
Sorry to interrupt, ladies.
Not at all, Reg. We were almost done. What do you need?
Well, Olivia just came over from the kitchen. She said there's a bit of confusion about your instructions for the food tonight, and she wanted to know if you could come over and clarify.
Of course. I'll head over there now, unless there's anything else we need to discuss.
Nope, I'm good if you are.
So we'll see you tonight at 7 then?
Yep, you know me. Can't resist a good party full of small talk. It's my absolute favorite.
Deanna gave her a dry smile.
Yeah, I'm sure. But it's important for our newcomers, so we'll all suffer it together.
You're the boss.
Talisa stood and headed for the front door. She walked down the road. She turned into an alley a few houses down from hers. She saw Jessi standing in the open doorway of her garage having a conversation with Rick. Talisa had been right in her assumption that he'd be good-looking with a shave and a haircut. As she watched, Rick reached out a hand as if to place it on Jessi's shoulder. At that moment, Jessi looked up and saw Talisa coming. She jumped back from Rick as if he'd been electrified and looked awkwardly down at her feet.
Sorry to interrupt.
Nothing to interrupt. Just showing Rick our owl sculpture and talking about the party tonight.
Yeah. I bet it's been a minute since you thought about what to wear to a welcome mixer.
It has at that.
Talisa took note of the jacket he was wearing with the word police across the back.
Deanna told me she appointed you and Michonne as our security officers. For what it's worth, I told her I thought it was a great fit. I'm sure you have a lot of very good ideas on how to optimize our security.
That's the hope. I just hope in the end your people are ready to accept what we have to say.
Not all of them will be, but I think you'll find, with time, enough of the right people will listen to make you effective.
Well, I guess I can't ask for much more than that. Now, if you ladies will excuse me, I have streets to patrol.
He nodded to them both, and then turned to walk back down the alley. As they watched him go, Talisa turned to Jessi with a significant look.
Jessi, what are you doing?
I'm talking to one of the newcomers. Since when is that a crime?
It's not. But the energy when I walked up felt like a lot more than just a friendly welcome to the neighborhood talk.
And what if it was?
Jessi, you're married.
No, you don't say. And since when are you the great defender of my marriage? You hate Pete. You may not have said it outright, but you've dropped so many hints that I should leave him that you might as well have. If anything, you should be happy.
Leaving Pete is one thing, and you're damn right I think you should leave him. He's a pompous, arrogant asshole, and if you think all those accident excuses you've been giving are fooling anyone, you're kidding yourself.
Jessi's eyes snapped to hers, and Talisa could see the shame and guilt burning there at being called out.
It's complicated. I've got the boys to think about, too.
Exactly. If you're staying with him for Ron and Sam's sake, how the hell do you think it would affect them if it comes out that you're having an affair with the sheriff?
I'm not having an affair with him. I've only talked with him a handful of times.
I know that. I'm just saying. Make sure you think about how your actions will affect everyone around you before you do them, especially your boys. We live in a very small community.
Jessi sighed heavily and shook her head, before looking back up at her again.
You're right. I know you are. It's just so hard sometimes. I can't imagine what someone like you must think of me, what you've been through, everything you've lost. And here I am with my family healthy and together, crying about the fact that my marriage isn't what I want it to be.
Talisa put her hands on Jessi's shoulders and met her gaze.
Hey, you know I don't see it like that. You have as much right to your feelings and frustrations as anyone. We don't compare bad around here. You know that. Everyone has their own shit and their own ways of dealing with it.
Thanks, Talisa. You're a really good friend.
Well, I try.
I'd better get home and make sure I lay out clothes for Ron and Sam, or who knows what they'll end up wearing tonight.
I'll see you later then. And hey,
Jessi looked up at her.
he is pretty cute in that uniform. Can't say I blame you for looking.
Jessi gave her a reluctant smile and shook her head as she walked away. A few hours later, Talisa walked up the stairs and across the porch into Deanna's house. She had intentionally come in a little late to avoid the initial awkwardness. Reg saw her from across the room and raised his glass of whiskey in greeting. She walked across the room to meet him.
Hey, Reg, how goes it?
Pretty well, I think. Newbies are still finding their footing, but I got the sheriff to take a drink, the redhead.
Abraham.
Right, Abraham, and his girlfriend seem to be fans of the beer. The rest generally look like they'd rather be anywhere else. But they showed up. So that's progress, right?
That's progress.
She gave his arm a squeeze and then headed into the crowd to mingle. She wove in between the guests, saying hi here and there. She spotted Jessi standing against the far wall talking with Rick. Jessi caught her eye and gave her a small smile that she returned with a nod. She made her way into the living room and saw Glenn, Maggie, and Noah sitting in the corner, nervously observing the activity in the room. She walked towards them, and as she did, Maggie looked up at her and gave her the first genuine smile Talisa had seen from her. She looked different. She still looked tired and cautious. The haunted look still lingered behind her eyes, but it was obvious she was trying. Talisa took the empty chair next to her as she addressed them all.
Hey guys, how you doing?
We're okay.
Glenn shot a hesitant look at the other two.
It's kinda awkward, huh?
They all answered with shy smiles.
It's okay. These kinds of things are always awkward. I hated this kind of stuff even before everything. Small talk is not my forte.
It's kind of hard to relate. What some of you people consider problems, well, let's just say, we've been living very different lives the last few years.
Let me guess. You met Mrs. Niedermeyer?
Noah smirked.
Yeah, we did.
And you guys really can't relate to the hardship she suffered by not having a pasta maker? I mean, come on. She's been eating box pasta for 3 years. No one should have to live that way.
They all chuckled.
Yeah, I definitely had a hard time taking her seriously when I first got here too. It's hard sometimes with the ones who've never known the world outside of here. They have no frame of reference to understand just how good they really have it.
I didn't realize you weren't an original resident.
Nope. I've actually only been here going on 6 months. Spent more time out there than I have in here.
Wow, you seem so well adjusted. I guess it's nice to know it's possible to get used to all this after a while.
Oh, I don't know if I'd say I'm completely used to it. And I'm glad I at least appear well adjusted from the outside looking in. I still take it one day at a time just like everybody else. The trick is just figuring out how to create whatever a new normal looks like to you. And on that note, what would you guys say to getting out of here?
Getting out of here and going where?
My place. I was thinking maybe you'd enjoy a little bit more of a relaxed environment and some actual fun. You ever played Mario Kart?
Mario Kart, as in the video game?
Glenn was looking at her like she'd just grown 2 heads.
Yep. I have a bunch of video games, movies, box sets of TV shows. When everything first went to hell, my late husband JP got the brilliant idea that along with the necessities, we needed to collect and preserve entertainment as well. He said, "What good is just surviving if you can't find ways to enjoy the life you're fighting for?" We'd had our house moved onto our own solar grid a few years before things went downhill, so we were able to hole up and stay secure and happy for quite a long while. When Aaron found me and brought me here, I talked him into helping me load his car with as much of my entertainment stash as would fit. It was my first contribution. I'm kinda Alexandria's unofficial Blockbuster rental, if you will.
So, you want us to come over to your place and play video games?
Noah was looking at her like he was waiting for her to give him the punchline to whatever joke she was telling.
Pretty much. How about this? Make your rounds and say hi and goodbye. Grab anyone else you think might be interested and stop by my place in a half hour. It's the one across from Abraham and Rosita's. I only have 4 controllers, but if we have more people, we'll just take it in turns.
The 3 of them looked at each other, and she could tell they were in that surreal space she knew well. Trying to decide if this offer was actually happening, and if it could be possible that in a few short minutes they'd be doing something as mundane as playing video games. It was Glenn who finally spoke.
All right, sounds good. We'll see you then.
Perfect.
She stood and walked to the front door. As she reached to open it, It was opened from the other side, and she was face to face with Michonne, who gave her a small half smile.
Hey,
Hey,
you enjoying the party?
Michonne gave a small, derisive snort of laughter and shook her head slightly.
the potato puffs are good.
They really are, aren't they? You should try them with a glass of the Chardonnay, out of this world combo.
I just might have to take you up on that.
Michonne stepped around her and went back into the party. Talisa walked onto the porch and found Abraham leaning against the porch railing with a half-full beer bottle in his hand. He turned slightly as she approached and smirked when he saw her.
Well, if it isn't Eugene 2.0, the much improved and prettier version, even if I do say so myself.
Hardly. After just a few conversations, I can confidently say I don't come close to touching Eugene in the smarts department. That man is a certified genius.
Abraham gave a small snort of laughter and took another sip of his beer.
He is that.
Speaking of Eugene, I noticed I didn't see him in there tonight. Not exactly the party type?
Abraham laughed again.
I'm guessing this'll come as no surprise to you, but for as much as Eugene's brain pan is far above average, he has about as much social grace as a drunken elephant in the Russian ballet.
Now it was Talisa's turn to laugh.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty par for the course for his type. My husband, JP, was always hopeless at parties. That man could talk your ear off about social commentary of Alan Moore's works, or why Tolkien was politically and socially decades ahead of his time, but put him in a room and make him do small talk, and it was the seventh circle of Dante's Inferno.
You know, I only understood about 5 of the words you just said, right?
Yeah, I figured.
Abraham shot an appraising look sideways at her as he took another sip of his beer.
So what's the deal with you? Do you actually like Eugene?
I guess that depends on what you mean by like. He seems like a nice guy and all.
You looking to get to know him better?
Talisa paused for a moment. She understood the implication of his question, and while she wasn't about to rise to his baiting, she also wanted to be honest and straightforward. Abraham seemed like the sort who appreciated that.
I mean, yeah, probably. But not in the way you're implying. Think of it this way. That beer you're drinking. You're enjoying it, right?
Damn straight.
He tipped it back and emptied the bottle.
And I'm guessing that while some of that enjoyment comes from the fact that you're just the kind of guy who enjoys a beer, it feels even better to stand here and drink it, because you're also the kind of guy who would have found himself standing on a porch, enjoying a beer in your old life. It feels like getting a piece of that life back in way.
Yeah, that sounds about right, I guess.
Well, in my old life, I was a girl who enjoyed surrounding herself with sweet, if not somewhat soft, nerdy, for lack of a better word, friends. It wasn't just my husband. We had a whole group of friends, and you could find us on any given night playing video or board games, arguing about TV and movies, and generally just enjoying each other's company. Talking with Eugene is like getting a piece of my old life back too.
I can see how that makes sense.
Abraham's mustache twitched slightly as he glanced at her again.
So you're saying you ain't into him like that at all, then?
I'm saying I've known him for 2 days.
So then you're saying he's still got a chance?
Talisa rolled her eyes.
What I'm saying right now is that you're drunk and acting like a 12-year-old girl.
Abraham laughed in earnest at that.
Well, I'm willing to cop up to one of those at least.
He raised his now empty beer bottle.
And my well's run dry, so I'm going in search of further refreshment. Have a good rest of your night, Talisa.
He gave her a wink and then sauntered back through the still open front door. Talisa shook her head and then continued down the steps and walked the few minutes down the road to her house. She saw the lights on at the house across the street, and after a moment's hesitation, she altered her path to walk towards it. As she approached, she could see Eugene half reclined on the sofa in the living room, intently reading a book. She walked up the front steps and lightly tapped on the window. The sound made him jump, and he looked up to see where it had come from. When his eyes finally found her in the window, he gave a small smile. She opened it and leaned with her elbows on the frame.
Hey, haircut, what you reading?
The Shadow Out of Time. Upon my investigation today, I discovered your community possess a well-stocked library, and being as it has been some time since I've had the opportunity to read quality literature, I thought I would indulge myself.
Your good taste extends to books as well, I see. H.P. Lovecraft is the best. Well, one of the best. I also love Edgar Allan Poe, and Tolkien, and Stephen King, Neil Gaiman. Okay, let's say Lovecraft is in the top 5.
Sounds like a fair assessment to me.
So speaking of indulging, you think maybe you'd be interested in tearing yourself away from the world of science fiction horror to partake in an indulgence of a different sort?
What did you have in mind?
Talisa grinned at him.
Mario Kart.
Eugene stared blankly at her for a moment, his book still hanging limply in his hand.
Can you repeat that, please? I'm fairly certain I didn't hear you correctly.
You heard me just fine, Haircut. Now mark your place in that book and let's go.
Oh my god, who threw that blue shell?
Glenn flopped back in frustration on the couch.
I did. Eugene's won 6 races in a row.
But you didn't get Eugene, you got me. I just freaking got around him.
Tara, you know turning your whole body doesn't make the car turn any faster.
Talisa called from the kitchen where she was making popcorn.
Shut up! I don't know how to play this frickin' game. I just figured out the little guy carrying the U-turn sign means I'm going the wrong way. Besides, it's not like I'm ever going to stand a chance against the guy who obviously played this game for days on end in his mom's basement.
Hey now, I resent that implication. While I admit my skills in Mario Kart would most likely be classified as adept, it is not in point of fact a game I have previously spent any significant length of time playing. And I will have you know that prior to the fall of society, I was a fully functioning adult in possession of my own residence, thank you very much.
You tell her, Haircut.
Roger Wilco.
It's been ages since I've seen someone make popcorn on the stove like that.
Maggie observed, as she came into the kitchen and leaned against the island.
Yeah, well, it's out of necessity, not nostalgia. I miss the hell out of my popcorn maker, but I can't deny the oil does give it a richer taste.
From the doorway into the living room, they heard Glenn give a triumphant whoop.
Yes, red shell. In your face, Eugene.
Maggie smiled and shook her head slightly.
It's nice to see him like this. I've never gotten a chance to see him just being normal. He's had to be harder since everything, you know?
So you guys weren't together before?
Maggie shook her head.
How did you meet, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, if you hear him tell it, he tells people I charged out of the woods on horseback like some kind of Annie Oakley.
Oh yeah?
We were living on my family's farm. Me, my daddy, my sister, and her boyfriend, and a man who helped us out on the farm and his wife, Otis and Patricia. Otis went out hunting, and there was an accident. Carl got shot.
Oh my God.
Yeah. My daddy was a veterinarian, so Otis brought Carl and Rick back to the farm. I rode out to find Carl's mom, Lori, and the rest of the group. That's how I met Glenn.
What happened to them, if you don't mind me asking? Carl's mom and your dad, and the rest.
Same thing that happens to everyone eventually.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too.
Maggie murmured as she watched the activity taking place in the living room. She glanced back over her shoulder at Talisa.
I heard you lost your husband.
Yeah, I did. Just a little over a year ago.
Talisa brought a bowl of popcorn over and set it down on the island next to her.
Did you have anyone else after you lost him?
No. My family wasn't even in the country when everything started. My parents worked for Doctors Without Borders, so they were over in Asia with my little brother when everything shut down. I doubt I'll ever find out what happened to them.
That's awful. I can't even imagine how it would feel to never know.
It's hell. But I learned a long time ago not to let myself dwell on it. Driving yourself crazy over the things you can't control doesn't help anyone.
The two of them stood there together, slowly eating the popcorn and watching as Tara flailed wildly trying to get back on course in the game.
So, what do you think of Deanna?
Talisa asked, taking another handful of popcorn from the bowl. Maggie shot her a knowing look.
She been talking to you about me?
Maybe a bit. She said she thinks you're smart, and you have a good mind for seeing the big picture.
Is that what she's calling it?
Maggie slowly chewed another piece of popcorn and seemed to be considering her next words.
I like what she wants to do here. I like her vision for the world she wants to build. and I think she has the exact right intentions. I just worry that her approach is a little...
Naive and overly optimistic?
You said it, not me.
She is. There's no denying it. But that's why she needs people like us, to give her a dose of reality when she needs it.
At that moment, Eugene appeared in the doorway.
They kick you out of the game, Haircut?
It's been decided that since none of my fellow competitors can beat me, that I should sit out a round so they can decide who is the superior player, sans my presence.
Oh, it's lonely at the top, huh? You want a soda? I've got some in the fridge. Nothing name brand, but Harold, who lives down by the gate, has been experimenting with making his own craft specialty stuff, and his birch beer is pretty good.
Don't mind if I do.
He walked over to the refrigerator and pulled out a bottle, opening with the bottle opener she had next to the sink. He took a long swig and then smiled.
I have to say, your assessment is correct. This right here is a top-notch beverage.
Of course it is. I wouldn't lie to you, would I?
Another cheer came from the living room, and Talisa held the bowl of popcorn out to him.
Here, Eugene. Bring them a peace offering, and maybe they'll let you back in.
He walked over and took the bowl from her, but as he did, she pointed a finger at him sternly.
But if they do, don't you start holding back and letting them win. If they can't beat you fair and square, it's not a real challenge.
Oh, I assure you it is not in my nature.
Eugene took the bowl from her and headed back into the living room. Maggie smirked slightly as she watched him go.
You're good with him. Most people have a hard time talking to him. He comes off as kind of odd.
Oh, he's definitely odd. But he's a kind of odd I'm used to. Most of the people I spent time with before were his kind of odd. It still boggles my mind that someone like him survived as long as he did out there, though. He doesn't seem to have a whole lot of survival skills.
He had the only survival skill he needed, the ability to convince stronger, more capable people they needed to keep him alive.
Oh yeah? How'd he do that?
That is a very long and complicated story that is definitely not mine to tell. You should ask him about it sometime. In the meantime, how about we go back in there and see if we can help them kick his butt?
Talisa grinned and nodded in agreement as they both walked back into the living room. When I Fall is a work of fiction based on AMC's The Walking Dead. Any characters not created by the author are the property of said company. The story will continue in the next chapter.